I'm Anderson Hurst. The Seattle Seahawks starting quarterback goes on the injury list 48 hours before their divisional playoff game against their conference rivals. That's all, or division rivals. That's all I'm going to say.
And I'm Corbin Smith. An oblique injury, especially the quarterback position, that's not the best news.
And I'm Rob Rang. And the reality is the Seahawks completely clowned the 49ers 2 weeks ago. And while the Sam Darnold news is concerning, at the same time, the defense hasn't been impacted, and that's why they're ultimately going to win.
And it's your boy, Turbo, Robert Turbin. And don't y'all know there's a script to all of this? It's just part of the story. Ain't nothing wrong with SD. Just fine come Saturday night.
Hey 12, it's the Seahawks squad. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
Welcome to Seahawks Show 12s, or Seahawks Squad Show, I should say. I got Anderson Hurst, Corbin Smith, Robert Turbin, Rob Rang with you. Lots to talk about today as we lead into the NFC divisional matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers at Lumen Field on Saturday night. But, you know, we have a couple things to touch on in terms of Sam Darnold goes on the injured list today. We're going to ask Corbin Smith and, you know, kind of what the timeline of events looks like, and then get Turbo and Rob's thoughts on, you know, what this means. Is there anything to worry about with the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks? Then we'll do kind of a recap of how this matchup can be different than the Week 18 matchup against the Niners just a couple weeks ago. So big time, show today. We got lots to chat about. But first, before we get into it, I want to mention that you guys, this crossover Thursday is presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. And Corbin, you guys had your crossover Thursday episode today. Who'd you have on for it, and what can people check out after they consume this one?
Yeah, Brian Peacock, the two of us. It feels like he's been my Locked On Seahawks secondary co-host with how much we've been doing shows with the 49ers. But
Right.
We had a lot of fun talk about what it would be like if Fred Warner played. We don't have to worry about that now at this juncture, but a lot of interesting wrinkles with some differences in matchups even from 11 days ago. So make sure to check that out on Locked On Seahawks.
Absolutely something to check out right after you check this one out. Appreciate all y'all who are with us live on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast or watching afterwards. Always appreciate hanging out with us as we lead into Seahawks 49ers. But guys, we kind of had a pretty standard procedure, like, all right, just leading up to the game, what are we going to do? How are the Seahawks going to win this one? And then we kind of got a little bit of a news drop today with Sam Darnold going on the injured list just 2 days before the game on Saturday. I'll kind of go through the timeline of events, then I'm going to get all your guys' thoughts on what this means. It kind of came out that he walked out onto the practice field with like one of those Theraguns and kind of putting it on his shoulder, kind of downplaying it as he was going, but the Seahawks put him on the practice or the injury list anyway. Then he did speak to the media, and he mentioned that he felt something when he was kind of throwing against air, I think was his exact term that he used. And originally it was actually on his left side, even though the Theragun was on his right shoulder. So I'm a little bit foggy on those details specifically, but he expects to play on Saturday. There was a 30-minute period where the Seahawks were like, uh-oh, what's happening here? But then the moment that Sam Darnold spoke, he kind of a little bit put those rumors to bed that he still expects to play. But Corbin, you kind of mentioned it off the top there. Even if he does expect to play, even if this is something on the minor side of things in terms of the severity of it, an oblique injury is not something to scoff at as a starting NFL quarterback.
No, especially when it is on your plant leg, on your drive leg. And so, look, I'm sharing this from experience. I had an oblique strain during a baseball season when I was in high school, and I played first base. So luckily, I didn't have to throw that much. And thank goodness, because that was the most painful motion. It wasn't swinging a bat, it was throwing. And you always felt the twinge when you were planting that plant foot down and getting ready to fire. So it's going to be a pain tolerance thing here for Sam Darnold, and it may very well have just been the slightest tweak, and by Saturday he might be out there throwing and feeling perfectly fine. But this is an injury that can be really touchy. It can also be one that feels good at the start of the game, and then all it takes is just one throw where you mess with that area just enough, and then it bothers you the rest of the game. And so I'm going to be curious to see what that looks like. I'm sure he'll be able to gut it out. Yeah. But it really just depends, what kind of grade strain that we're talking about there. And I do think that they should be happy that this happened with 2 full days for them to do some treatment on, rather than the game being a day and a half or whatever. That extra time, if it would have been an afternoon game versus an evening game, those extra couple hours can be a big difference when you're looking at an injury like that. So I guess the good news would be that, it wasn't something that bothered me too much when I was running with it. So I don't know that it's going to impact his movement stuff that much. It's that plant foot and being able to drive out of that plant foot. That is where you're probably going to feel that if you're Sam Darnold.
Yeah, well, it worried the Seahawks enough to A, put him on the list, and B, to even have Drew Lock take some first-team reps today at practice. So, Rob, what's your worry meter as of right now for in terms of not the game in general, but Sam Darnold's ability to play at a full capacity level for him?
Full capacity? It's probably more like a 7 or 8. I mean, honestly, I just think that, as Corbin just talked about, it's the throwing motion. Mm-hmm. What I worry about is the fact that the 49ers, even in a humbling 13-3 loss in Santa Clara 2 weeks ago, they still had 2 sacks on Sam Darnold. What happens when you have a defender hit his legs and he is in that throwing motion? That's just going to stretch those abdominal muscles that much more potentially. Again, I just think that it is concerning. Now, look, I have a great deal of faith in Drew Lock, perhaps more than a lot of people do. I've been a Drew Lock fan going back to his days at Missouri, but it doesn't matter if you have the best backup quarterback in the world. It is still going to completely throw off the timing between the quarterback, whoever he may be, and your wide receivers. So this is concerning news. Sam Darnold, as Corbin mentioned, is a tough guy. He is going to gut it out, but it is concerning. And as Turbo mentioned, as we talked in the preview here, it does feel like a little bit of the storyline here just makes things that much more interesting. As I mentioned a moment ago, and I think that as many of us are going to be kind of talking about, I think that the Seattle's defense is enough that they should be able to kind of control this game and allow Sam Darnold to play, even if he is at only 75%. But there is no question about it. I felt very, very confident the Seahawks were going to win this game a couple of hours ago. When this news broke, I definitely was more concerned. I think the Seahawks fans should be concerned as well.
So, Turbo, you think this is all just mind games for Mike McDonald because of the whole Fred Warner thing that San Francisco did? He was never going to play anyway, and they still put him out there to practice. So is this kind of Seattle's response to that?
Well, look, Mike McDonald doesn't strike me as a mind game type of dude, okay? Sure. He strikes me as a straight up, straight shooter, straightforward, no time for games type of person, man. But I do feel like, this is a non-story. Sam Darnold is going to get the Toradol shot, or he's going to take the pill. He's going to put it under his tongue before the game, and he's going to go out there and play. That's what it's going to be. I'm just giving y'all what it is. Okay, this is the truth, okay? Now, I've had the oblique injury, very similar to Corbin. What it can impact is rotation. And and even as a runner, it may not be necessarily on the cut, but that torque that happens after the cut can really be painful, and obviously contact is worse than anything. Okay, but I think I don't know what happened I don't know if those details have been shared with the public. This to me sounds. Does he have kids? This to me sounds like he was wrestling at the house, with the kids, and trying to get it out before it's time to focus on the game. And boom,
Yeah.
something strange happened. All right, but at the end of the day, I don't. The concern level for me is really low.
Okay.
Because this is we're going to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
He knows it. Everybody knows it, and I think this is something to cause a little bit of a distraction for the 49ers. Not that they won't be locked in. We respect their team and everything like that, but I don't have a high concern for this at all. I did not know, though, I will admit, that Drew Lock was taking first-team reps. That now changes the dynamic slightly. That lets me know that, okay, this dude is really sore right now.
Yeah, so from my understanding, and I kind of lie somewhere in between you guys, I don't have a high concern level, but I don't think it's nothing either. I don't think that this is just like, he's fine. They're just putting him on for no reason or whatever. It sounds like it's more precautionary than anything else. This is just my total read on it. Just I don't have any insight or anything like that. This is my feel about it. But I like what Corbin said about one like weird like hit or one weird like little twinge, or even just playing more often later in the game. It could be one of those things where it's like you feel fine at kickoff and then like you have to make a big throw in the fourth quarter and it's not the same, especially on a relatively cold night. It's not going to be freezing on Saturday night in Seattle, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, it's not nothing. But I think he's going to play. I don't think there's a ton of risk that he's not going to be out there to at least start this game. The question is, how much is it going to affect him when he's playing? I think that's the biggest thing for me, because as you guys know, playing at this highest level, it's the slightest downtick from how you're even just feeling makes a huge difference, especially, in such a big game that they're going to be playing in. So how much does it change the game plan? Even if Sam Darnold is out there, how close are we to be like, I'm just not feeling it. You're going to throw Drew Lock out there to give you a better chance to win. I don't know. I don't know any of those questions, but I don't think there's a risk at him not starting this game. I'll put it that way. I don't know, Corbin, if you feel the same way at that.
Yeah. Well, I'll be shocked if Drew Lock plays any snaps in this football game. I don't think we are at that point unless Darnold just goes out and just plays horrible football the first quarter or so, and it's clear he's not getting zip behind the ball, and it's clearly impacting his mechanics. And if that's happening, then Seattle has to strongly consider that. But I don't think that's going to be an issue. And the fact that it sounds like Locke got the first team reps more because Darnold, they were just being cautious, like, hey, this is not the day to push it. It's our walkthrough practice, or whatever the next step up from being a walkthrough is, last practice of the week. I'm going to go in and do some rehab work. That, somebody's got to play quarterback during the rest of practice. So I'm not necessarily alarmed on that front. I just think that this is something to watch where, all it takes is one or two throws being impacted by this that make your mechanics not quite right. And then the ball sails on you and you throw a pick or something. Those are the things that you have to consider here. But I'm kind of with you, Anders, in the sense that, to me, it's kind of a middle of the pack thing. I think he plays. I think he's going to be able to do a lot of the stuff he normally does, but pain tolerance is going to be a part of the equation here, like you have with any injury.
Yeah, and it's also worth pointing out, I think Ian Furness pointed this out on today's show for KJR. When the news broke, we were on the air, and he was saying that if he was really that injured, they wouldn't have had him speak to the media as well. That's just not a very Seahawk thing to do. In general, if a guy is at risk of not playing, they don't have them speak to the media. The fact that Sam Darnold was talking to the media right after all this broke kind of tells you, including him very much being like, I'm feeling okay. That tells you that it's probably not as big of a deal as it could have been. But Rob, how much is this going to change their game plan? Even if he's at 90% of what his feeling in terms of his oblique and how that's going, do you think that changes anything at all? Are they going to run the football even more than they did in the Week 18 game?
Yeah, and gentlemen, I hate to play the Chicken Little, the sky is falling down here role. I just think the fact that Sam Darnold spoke after practice does not mean a damn thing.
Okay.
I mean, I don't care if you got hit by a bus. I would have Sam Darnold out there talking to the media the same way the 49ers had Fred Warner out there,
Sure.
showing all these clips of him working out, even though, as Kyle Shanahan said, Fred Warner, the superstar middle linebacker for the 49ers, of course, is not going to be on the field against the Seahawks in this game, despite what all of the social media buzz was. But the fact that Sam Darnold ran off the field during practice, the fact that he was, as you mentioned, had the gun on his right shoulder,
Yes.
What we saw in his press conference, and that when he adjusted his cap, it was with his right hand, not his left side. I think that there are reasons to be concerned about this. Again, I mean, the 49ers, the last place defense in all of the NFL when it comes to sacking quarterbacks, still hit Sam Darnold. As I mentioned before, 2 sacks this past game, 1 sack in the game in which they beat the Seahawks, of course, in Lumen Field. I think that there is concerning. And as Corbin and I talked about, this is a game in which I think that Seattle is going to try to get ahead of the 49ers early. And one of the biggest, easiest ways of doing so is throwing a ball over the top early on, trying to get an explosive play. Again, when you have to really rear back and throw the football, that's where you're going to have to generate some of that torque that Turbo talked about. So, look, I do fully expect Sam Darnold to start this game. I think he is going to be able to finish this game. At the same time, the fact that he was not listed as probable, he was listed as questionable, I think that Seahawks fans should be a little bit concerned. I can promise you the 49ers are that much more excited about the possibility that Seattle's quarterback could go. And that to me is actually a little bit more the storyline that I want to make sure that we kind of at least acknowledge here is what kind of distraction is this for the rest of the Seahawks? Because they saw their starting quarterback trot himself off the field. Do they have any concern after I'm sure they are feeling very confident after, I know it was 13-3, the way they beat the 49ers a couple of weeks ago, but it felt like a lot more than that. Do they have any, blip in their confidence radar at this point because of what Sam Darnold is? I mean, just look at the way that the Seahawks media, the way the Seahawks personnel who were standing alongside of Sam Darnold, the way they looked as he was kind of sharing this news about his injury, they look concerned as well.
Yeah, I think that you can't discount. I love the kind of angle you put about the distraction. So let's ask Turbo. Someone who's been in that situation before, obviously, with a bunch of injuries all the time. How much of that does that change your preparation, especially for as big of a game as this? It's one thing to happen week 3 or something like that. It's injury. It's not like a season-ending injury or anything like that. But for a divisional game where your season could be over in 48 hours at this point, how does that affect your preparation, especially when your leader, your starting quarterback, as Rob just said, jogs off the field in the middle of practice?
And are you talking about on the Seahawks side or the 49ers side?
Seahawks.
I mean, it does change your preparation slightly. If he's not able to finish practice, then that's a totally different topic. You know what I'm saying? And look, as much as we love Tavares Jackson, rest in peace, as our backup quarterback, we felt that he could do most of the things that Russell Wilson can do. But if Russ wasn't going to play, then that was gonna change our game plan pretty significantly, because then coach has to alter things that Tavares does well.
Right.
And as much as we may love Drew Lock, who we all agree probably won't play, the game plan certainly has to be altered to what Drew Lock does well. Yeah. He doesn't do all the same things well as Sam Darnold, as much as we would like to think that. And so there is some question marks there, like especially really on both sides of the football. Like, man, are we going to have our guy? At the end of the day, I think Sam Darnold is going to be fine, and I don't think Clint Kubiak is going to alter his game plan very much. Okay. We've seen quarterbacks this season banged up in the playoffs, but they got to play. If they're out there, the game plan remains. The Chargers did not change their game plan. with Justin Herbert being banged up. Didn't result in a win, but he was still out there doing the same things we saw him do the entire season. The Steelers did not do anything differently with Aaron Rodgers and his left wrist.
Yeah.
He was still trying to sling it to DK Metcalf. Okay, no Diddy. All right? Nothing changed with Josh Allen. He was still running quarterback power and draw, and he was still playing the way that he plays because of what is at stake. So, to me, even though there are some concerns, I can get on that train. I don't think the game plan or anything strategically changes because we are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. And you are going to get yourself healthy enough to play. And as long as you're doing that, then we are going to do what it is that we do to beat the 49ers.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And, it's worth monitoring the next couple days, Seahawks fans. So we'll do that for you on Locked On Seahawks. I'm sure Corbin and Rob will have updates for you tomorrow for that episode amongst their predictions and everything as well. But we'll keep an eye on it as we move closer to game time on Saturday night. Again, Corbin makes a great point. You can look at it two ways. You're lucky you're not on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, right? It gives you that extra couple hours. But at the same time, how nice would it be to have an extra day to be in on Sunday night this time, right?
Whoa. A lot of us now on the Seahawks side was like, 49ers stop complaining.
Yeah.
So now we want an extra day.
Yeah.
Both ways. Can't both ways, man.
I'm not complaining that it's on Saturday, but I'm just pointing at another reality where you have an extra day to recover and something like that. Yeah, it would make a big difference, but we don't. So that's why I think there's the concern level that there is amongst some fans. Some fans say there's nothing to worry about. So we'll see what ends up happening. It's always hard to read into these injury stuff. You never know how much is actually going on behind the scenes. This could totally be just like a super precautionary. We wanted to put him on. And Rob, I'm not sure. You mentioned the not probable part. I'm not 100% on this. Corbin, you might be able to answer this on me. I think they got rid of the probable designation a few years ago.
They got rid of it in the 2011 CBA. It has not been around for a long time.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize
and Turbo was actually teammate. I believe that crazy 2015 game against Pittsburgh. That is the only time, and I'm a nerd, so I've tracked this. That was the only time in the last since 2011, since that CBA. That is the only time a guy was doubtful and played for the Seahawks, and there hasn't been a probable. Yeah, and Rob's looking at me like I'm crazy, but like there has not been a probable the entire time I've been a reporter. And it was initiated in that last CBA, not the one that was signed here a few years ago.
Yeah.
Was that Marshawn Lynch that played? Do you remember who the player was?
It was Bruce Irvin.
Oh, Bruce. Okay. Now I only asked because I can't tell you guys how many times, because remember Marshawn had the back issue.
Yeah.
And Mike Robb used to come up to me in the locker room and say, "Turbo, man, listen." And he was serious. He'd be like, "Listen, man, you need to make sure you're ready to start this week." And it never happened.
Marshawn got a hold of his Skittles and made sure that you didn't get to start. Right?
Oh, man. That's great. That's awesome. That's us with Drew Lock right now. Drew, you got to be ready to start, It never happens. Well, great. I love what you guys provided. I think that kind of helps, put everything in perspective. It's just the information that we got. There's a bunch of different reports out there about what actually happened. And then Sam talking about it himself. It was, like I said, confusion. He puts it on the Theragun when he came out was on his right shoulder, but then he said it was on his left shoulder or left oblique that was sore or something. So I don't know the whole.
You don't want to put a Theragun on an oblique injury.
So I have one clarification here, guys.
Okay, go ahead, Corbin.
It was 2011 through 2016 probables were allowed still.
Okay.
It was 2016 that they removed that. The Seahawks very rarely ever listed anybody as probable, though. Okay. So, I don't have any documentation on that. So,
but now, if anyone has any sort of issue that's not, what's the term, virtually,
I think the league just felt like it was too. It's like, okay, if they're probable, well, whoop-de-doo, they're probably going to play. Let's just, So, I think it was just let's make it one less thing that we have for designations to make it less murky.
Yeah.
So,
no, I totally see that. So. This probably would be a situation if the probable tag was still there that maybe Sam does go to probable. So I don't know. It's just there's all these layers to this that when your quarterback goes on the injury list 48 hours before a playoff game, we all of a sudden are really interested in that kind of stuff. But appreciate you guys. All right, let's look ahead to the game. Let's assume Sam Darnold's playing. I want to get your guys' thoughts on how this matchup's going to look different. And Sam Darnold being slightly injured could be one of the things that we talk about. How is this going to be different from Week 18? Because it's just 2 weeks ago. It was the last game the Seahawks played was against the 49ers. So does the 49ers have somewhat of an advantage because they get to make the adjustments based off of what didn't work in Week 18? And Seattle, while winning the game in dominant fashion, maybe the score didn't indicate that, but the game was a dominant win for the Seahawks. It's like you kind of just do what works, or does the extra week of preparation help the Seahawks even more so? So I'm going to ask you guys kind of what that looks like from a coaching perspective on the other side of the break here on the Seahawks Squad Show as we prepare for Seahawks 49ers in the divisional round. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our businesses and think there has to be a better way, and there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way you run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets mixed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operators to growing teams. Make this year the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free plus 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnfl. That's QUO.com/lockedonnfl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Hey guys, the draft picks positions are set and so many teams are looking for their franchise QB. Ever wished to become a pro QB getting drafted first overall by the Seahawks? That'd be pretty nice. Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you can step into the cleats of a #1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. Well, Seahawks aren't a failing franchise, but you could help turn them into a dynasty in this situation. This is the #1 QB career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environments with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry, and evolve your teammates. Give input to your GM on roster moves, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a QB career, from rookie nerves to playoff drama, and every choice shaped your journey. Ultimate QB is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Wow, that's rare in today's world. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special just for you guys. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB, football legend, QB1. It's your legacy. Welcome back. Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Corbin Smith, Rob Rang, Robert Turbin with you guys today. We're breaking down the Seahawks as they lead into the NFC divisional round against the San Francisco 49ers. And I just want to kind of open it up. How is this game different than Week 18? Obviously, it's a playoff game instead of the last game of the regular season, but the Week 18 game definitely had a playoff vibe with the winner catching the number 1 seed and getting the first round bye. So in terms of the matchup itself, how is this game different? It looks like you can go with the players on the field, whether it's Ricky Pearsall possibly playing and he wasn't in Week 18, or George Kittle not playing and him playing in Week 18. Corbin, I'm going to start with you on this one. How is this one different? Where are you going to look? How is this matchup different from the one at the end of the regular season?
For me, I don't know necessarily that there's a ton of differences in terms. I mean, it's been like, it still feels like it's been 15 minutes since the last game ended. So
right.
You're not going to be seeing, it's going to be a cat and mouse game, but I think you're going to see, there's going to be some breadcrumbs from that last game, just because as Mike McDonald's like, hey, we didn't get to everything we wanted to do. And I'm sure Kyle Shanahan didn't get anywhere near everything he wanted to do with the lack of plays that San Francisco had on offense. So I don't think you're going to see the 49ers go out there and reinvent the wheel. The Seahawks certainly are not going to do that. These two teams are going to play the style that they want to play, even if there might be some personnel differences. The thing that I'm going to be watching is how Robert Saleh calls the defense for the 49ers. And I wrote an article about this earlier this week on Emerald City Spectrum, ironically talking about the ball being in Sam Darnold's court. And the reason that I think that is going to be the case more so in this game, if you look at the first versus second half a couple weeks ago, Anders, first half, the Seahawks rushed for 115 yards and over 6 yards per carry. They rushed for 65 yards and under 4 yards per carry in the second half. And the big difference, we can thank our friends over at True Media for all these numbers, but you look at the way that the 49ers played defensively, first half, 21 of their 34 snaps, they were in nickel. They played 25% clip at cover 4 and cover 6, which means they've got two deep safeties back. They played a much higher percentage of a second safety up in the box. They were adding an extra defender up in the second half. And that was a big reason they were able to slow down that run game to an extent, at least from a yards per carry standpoint. They were much better. I'm expecting, especially if Sam Darnold is not 100% and maybe can't let it rip quite the same way, Robert Saleh is going to do what he did against the Eagles and say, you know what? We're not letting this running game beat us the way the Seahawks did in Week 18. We're going to bring guys up and, hey, Sam, we know early in the year you were throwing these balls downfield, but we're going to see if you can do it to us right now. And I think they're going to be more aggressive with their blitzing as well. So that is where I'm expecting change-ups that we already kind of had a hint at in the second half of that game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Rob, what do you expect to be different? Does Kyle Shanahan on the offensive side make any changes?
I think he makes significant changes. And I love the Corbin one on the defensive side of the ball. I think that you are going to see some more aggression from Robert Saleh, as we talked about before. I think that, Sam Darnold, whether he's really limited or whether this is just a Hollywood script to make the game more interesting, perhaps try to get some of the people who are walking around in New York City to know who the Seahawks head coach is. If you've seen the clip, then if you know, you know. And if you don't, let me just kind of, again, focus back in on Anders' question here. I think that on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to see three significant differences. For one, just the low-hanging fruit. Trent Williams is a really good player, and he's going to be back on the field for the 49ers left tackle position. I think that they're going to be running the ball after the left tackle a lot more than they did before in Week 18 when they had a decent player in Austin Pleasance at the left tackle position, but not a future first ballot Hall of Famer like Trent Williams. I think that the possibility they're going to have, the wide receiver in Ricky Pearsall, thank you. Ricky Pearsall, his straight line speed, I think, just makes this offense that much more dynamic. And so I think that is going to just force the Seahawks to play a little bit further back and be able to create some more room for the rest of the 49ers pass catchers. It's just going to make their passing game that much more dynamic. And ultimately, my biggest point is I think that you are going to see, Kyle Shanahan just be a lot more aggressive I think that he recognizes that this is basically win or go home. And so, and Corbin and I talked about this. I think you're going to see the 49ers go for it on fourth down much more often than you have seen them go, certainly in the last game 2 weeks ago. And that is going to obviously change things. It could result in Seattle slowing down the 49ers from the jump and making this into a little bit of a laugher. I also think it is possible that the 49ers are able to convert some of those fourth downs and be able to make this game much more competitive. And if Sam Darnold is in fact struggling with that oblique injury into the third or fourth quarters, if Jason Myers misses a couple of field goals like he did 2 weeks ago, this just makes that game that much more of a nail biter for Seahawks fans.
All right, Turbo. So from what Corbin and Rob said, do you as a Seahawks fan, coach, however you want to go with this, do you make any adjustments? You just beat them 2 weeks ago. It was the last game you played. Are there anything significantly that you're trying to do? The best teams, even when they win, are always trying to improve themselves. What do you think?
Well, I think you're always trying to create easy throws for Sam Darnold, especially if he's a little bit banged up. We understand that defensively, even though from a productivity standpoint, Seahawks did a pretty nice job. We only scored 13 points, and we left a lot of points out there. And I think the offense can be even more explosive against a defense that, to me, quite frankly, I just don't think, this team as a whole can really hang, position by position. And I think there's a lot of advantages here for the Seahawks. Not disrespecting the 49ers, because we approach every game, we respect every opponent, and what the 49ers have been able to accomplish, I think, is absolutely amazing. We talked about Coach of the Year a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
I don't see how you don't give it to Kyle Shanahan this year for what he's been able to overcome with this roster. But to me, all of the advantages lie on the Seahawks side. And I get that, Ricky Pearsall is back, but, and I can say this because I've had my fair share of injuries over the course of my career, okay?
Yep.
But this man, have you guys seen Mr. Glass?
Yeah.
Pearsall. They might be cousins or something. I don't know, okay? But I just don't think that there's much impact there, okay? I know there's skill there, but I don't know if there's going to be much impact there. Here's the one thing I think you'll see maybe different from the 49ers. I know you asked me about the Seahawks, but I think you'll see a lot more pony personnel. I think you'll see Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. on the field at the same time a lot more in this matchup than we did in Week 18. And the reason for that is because of what you're missing at wide receiver, of course, because of what you're missing with George Kittle, and how can I implement more playmaking ability, more playmakers on the field at the same time. I think Brian Robinson Jr. brings a nice element to the downhill physical run game, maybe slightly more than Christian McCaffrey does, but obviously CMC has that dynamic outside, being able to run routes, being able to win one-on-one matchups. Why not have those two guys on the field at the same time? I think that might be an adjustment there that Kyle Shanahan makes in this matchup.
Yeah, you've always been a Brian Robinson Jr. fan. You even said it when we were talking the Commanders, and you were like, why did they get rid of this guy? So what is it about him? Yeah.
I just think that he's your he's an every down back. I mean, he's your prototypical, was the word I was trying to think of, your prototypical 3-down back that you want on your team.
Yeah.
He makes quick decisions. He's got good vision. He gets downhill. He can make people miss in space. He may not have the greatest breakaway speed, but he can get long gains. He understands pass protection, and he can take care of it physically. He's the total package. He's not a backup running back. He's not. He is the prototypical starter that anybody in the NFL would want on their team. The issue was he had some ball handling issues that last year with the Commanders. And listen, that just comes with confidence. Confidence comes with more reps. You can correct that as long as you can get this thing corrected first. And I think Brian has done that tremendously well. And so if you have two starters, use them. And I think Kyle Shanahan, recognizes that in this matchup, especially with the Seahawks defensively and how physical they are. They got to get some physicality out there.
Yeah, well, I love it. Well, let's take a quick break, and I'm going to ask you guys, from the coaching perspective now, when you have this kind of just seeing this team, whether it's the last game they played like the Seahawks or still even with the game in between for the 49ers, it was 2 weeks ago, with the adjustments that obviously that the 49ers are going to make, a little bit different of a look, did the Seahawks kind of just are they kind of, I don't want to say put behind the eight ball, but when you have as dominant of a win as you just had, what more can you do to improve and kind of combat the changes that the 49ers are going to make coming into this game? Do you not trust, but do you see Mike McDonald making anything sweeping, groundbreaking changes? Obviously do what works for you, but improve what, the last couple weeks of the season, even if you get your results that you're looking for. How do you still improve on that as you try to build towards the Super Bowl is kind of what I'm going at. So we'll look at kind of the coaching perspective between Mike McDonald and Kyle Shanahan on the other side of this break here on the Seahawks Squad Show. We will be right back. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy workdays, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference, and that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of all meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit to your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. There's over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and no wasted food. Saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. So for a limited time, Home Chef's offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hurst, Corbin Smith, Rob Rang, Robert Turbin with you. Let's go straight to the coaching matchup between the Seahawks and 49ers. We did talk a little Sam Darnold and the injury scare / news earlier today. We kind of looked at what adjustments the 49ers and a little bit of the Seahawks will be making. But let's look from the Seahawks perspective now. What can they change from a Week 18 win? Do you expect there to be a difference in game plan moving forward, even if Sam Darnold is good to play? Corbin, do you see much different than that Mike McDonald is going to attack? Let's look at the defensive side of the ball first, since we've talked a lot of offense. No George Kittle, but you might have Ricky Pearsall. Rob mentioned kind of the straight line speed and how that affects the offense for Kyle Shanahan. What kind of adjustments can the Seahawks make into their third matchup of this year against the 49ers?
This is going to sound crazy, Anders. If I'm Mike McDonald, you can talk about making a bunch of changes, and I think you have to have some stuff in your pocket for if San Francisco does some things that you're not expecting. But I think sometimes, and it pains me to say this because I am a scheme dude. Like I love talking X's and O's. I love trying to find edges, chasing edges, as Mike McDonald likes to call. But I do think there are times where you just got to realize, and this is not being cocky, you're the healthier team. You are the more talented team. Go do your thing. Like, Did you ever see the 2013 Seahawks like overanalyze things with how they were going to defend you scheme wise? No. I don't think Mike McDonald, when his team's at his best, like he talked about it after that our second Rams game when they gave all those points and 500 yards. Like, I think I probably tried to put too much in the game plan in that short week. Like, less is more with the Seahawks. And I think there is a blueprint, and it's easier said than done to execute it. But like, I don't think you need to go out and reinvent the wheel. Maybe you do a couple little wrinkles here and there that were part of your last game plan that you think might be able to help counter the changes you're expecting from San Francisco. But like, let Nick Immanwori be a playmaker. Let him go do what he did last game. Focus on attacking the quarterback outside in and not letting Brock Purdy extend plays. And take away the middle of the field in the intermediate passing game and force Brock Purdy to have to beat you on the further throws outside the hash marks. Like those things. And of course, tackling doesn't matter what your scheme is if your tackling isn't on point. To me, this is a game that really is about the pros versus Joes type ordeal where it just feels like the Seahawks talent wise, like you play to the strengths of your football team, especially in a short gap like this. Not much has changed. Go play your game to the strengths of your personnel. And the best part about not having to mix and match guys and be able to do a lot of different things because of Immanwori, Witherspoon, guys like that. There'll be some subtle changes, but like go play your game. And I think if you try to do too much adjusting here, that's when you can get yourself into trouble.
Do you agree, Rob?
For the most part, I do. I think that, look, you are better. I think that you proved that 2 weeks ago. And obviously the health concerns of both clubs could change this game a little bit. I just want to kind of play devil's advocate here for a moment. Let's say the 49ers actually do march right down the field, or at least at the end of the first quarter, this is a close game. Perhaps even the 49ers are ahead. I think that you have to attack Trent Williams. And look, I think Trent Williams, again, is a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the elite offensive tackles I've ever seen. At the same time, I think that you initially match him up against your bigger, more physical defensive linemen, Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, just because of their size and physicality. However, if the 49ers are going to get aggressive, if they're going to allow Brock Purdy to throw the ball down the field, this gets to be a little bit more of who can outscore their opponents, then I think that's where you got to get the speed rushers out there and be able to test that hamstring for Trent Williams. And that's where you get a Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, maybe even a Derek Hall, although I would argue that he's not as quick off the ball as the other two aforementioned pass rushers on the outside. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think that what Corbin just mentioned with Nicky Immanwori makes an awful lot of sense. I also think on the offensive side of the ball, Seattle has to incorporate whoever is their second receiver. Look, I think they have to do that more. Jackson Smith-Njigba caught 6 passes for 84 yards in that first game of the season, obviously a loss. 9 passes for 124 yards. I got that switched around. 6 passes for 84 yards in the Week 18 victory. 9 passes for 124 yards in the Week 1 loss. Nobody else for the Seahawks caught more than 2 passes. I think that if you are thinking that you're going to make a Super Bowl run here, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, gentlemen, that you have to get a secondary target, whether it be Rashid Shaheed, whether it be A.J. Barr, whether it be Cooper Kupp, get somebody else involved if this does become a little bit more of a shootout.
Turbo, do you agree? Do you think you make any kind of big changes, or you just trust what's been working?
The changes you make are pretty slight. I could use examples of when we played the 49ers 3 times in 1 year. And it's like, okay, we knew we wanted to run outside zone towards Aldon Smith because he always jumped inside. Yeah. And so we knew we would get the edge, whether we were running the weak or whether we were running boss, which is a strong side outside zone run. So you keep those. Some of the things that you would change might be like personnel. Because of how the defense line up. We might be in 12 personnel, but they, which is, 2 tight ends, 1 back, whatever, and they still line up in nickel against that. We weren't running football against that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it's those little intricate changes that you make. They're not large. But it's like, okay, we're recognizing now against this personnel they line up, they bring this, they counter that with this personnel or whatever the case may be. The 49ers used to run a trap play against our defense. We kind of stole that later on in the season. Let's give them a little taste of their own medicine. But you don't get out of what you are from a meat and potato standpoint. Like, we were an outside zone running football team, play action, throw the ball, and pick our shots. And I think similarly, the offense is kind of the same, under Clint Kubiak. And so there's not massive changes, to answer your question, Anders, but there are those little intricate ones. You want to run this personnel maybe a little bit more than what you did in week 18 because of what you saw on film, but you're still going to run the same stuff.
Yeah.
And you may have an added wrinkle there, a counter play or some sort of pass concept that's different than what you showed in week 18. But, the games are too close in proximity and you're too long into the season to have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different plays now that you're installing that's different from what it is that you do. You're going to do what you do at this point of the season.
Yep. I think I agree with you guys. There's always like little tiny adjustments that you can make. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's been working for you. And you just showed your physical dominance against this team in week 18. Just line up and do that again. I love what Corbin said about that. You have the better team at this point. Just go out and prove it at this point. All right. Really quick, just a couple minutes left. I got to run. I know I'm sorry. I got to end this one. But next segment, I want to ask you guys what you think about the other divisional games. We'll kind of go through them, win-loss for which teams. Maybe the Seahawks will be facing the Bears. Maybe they'll be facing the Rams if they win this one. So we'll check through what you guys think about the other games on the other side of the Seahawks Squad Show. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. If you're hiring, Indeed's all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If I need to hire someone for this right now, I go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored Jobs boost your post to people who are the best match for your role, and it makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posts directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you're hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Welcome back, Seahawks Squad Show, as we preview Seahawks 49ers. Let's look at the other games across the NFL docket today with a couple other divisional matchups. Let's look at the other three games, gentlemen. I'm curious where you guys are looking. Let's start with the Bills and Broncos. Corbin, where do you think this one's going?
Well, the Bills knocked my AFC team out, and I kept thinking Jacksonville was going to find a way, but Josh Allen, give the dude credit, playing with multiple injuries, just gets the job done. And I got Buffalo winning this one. Denver's got a lot of inexperience when it comes to playoffs, particularly the QB position, and maybe this is the year against all odds that Josh Allen, because Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are not in the dance, that the Buffalo Bills find a way to get it done. They might have beat their toughest opponent in their wild card matchup. So I got Buffalo winning that one.
Cool. Rob, where are you going?
Agreed 100%. I have the Buffalo Bills basically on Josh Allen's shoulders winning this football game. I think the Denver Broncos is the better all-around team. However, when it is as close as I think that this game's going to be, you ultimately go with the better quarterback. I have the Buffalo Bills win 24-23.
Turbo, what do you think? You're muted, brother.
My bad, y'all.
All good.
I got Buffalo. I got Buffalo in this game, and I've been talking about this a little bit all week. Listen, I've been fortunate to play with some really special players, and there's a difference between having a great team and a great player, or some great players, and then like an exceptionally great player. I mean, somebody that just kind of rises above all. Marshawn, to me, was like that. He was just the unicorn. Where when you watch him, you're just like, how? How did that happen? That's abnormal. And to me, Josh Allen does a lot of abnormal things. So much so that, and I know jokingly, there's like this, you got to turn into Superman. Tony Romo talked about it on the podcast or on the broadcast. Josh Allen's got to turn into Superman right here. Okay, but we get the analogy, right? But what he's saying is he's in that category of elite that can sort of water down what your team lacks because of that one player. And like I said, to me, Marshawn was like that. And I think Josh Allen is like that. I agree with what Rob said. Corbin, I think, said the same thing. Denver is no question a better team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Josh Allen, his eliteness, or even greater than that, finds a way to get this team over that hump and win.
All right. I'm going to be the one to pick the Broncos. In general, I'm usually the better team beats better player guy. I think that happened in 2013 when the Seahawks faced Peyton Manning. You guys know it, Turbo. You guys are the better team, straight up.
Yeah, but he wasn't a better player at that anymore at that
Okay.
time.
All right.
Even
after the
pushback.
All right. Yeah, that's
because
fair.
I think the neck injury kind of.
Yeah.
He was throwing ducks left and right.
Yeah, he was throwing ducks.
Easy.
I know exactly what you mean. Anyways, but I was trying to give you a compliment, say you guys are the better team, but all right.
Well, we have Marshawn too.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, let's look at the other ones. Texans, Patriots. Corbin, where are you going?
I think New England wins that one. I just look at Drake May is much better than what Aaron Rodgers is at this point. Texas defense is great, but CJ Stroud, for them scored 30 points. CJ Stroud looked awful the other day. I'll take Drake May over CJ Stroud. Like, to me, the quarterback dictates this one.
Rob.
I have to agree with him. I think being at home, I think that New England is a better all-around team. I think they run the football, even though Houston's defense is as good as there is in the league, in my opinion. I have the Patriots winning 2016.
Turbo.
Texas defense struggles against mobile quarterbacks, running quarterbacks. I got New England.
Okay. I'm going to go also New England. Better team. That's all I'm going to say. I know the Texas defense has been really, really good. A lot of people like where they're at right now, but the Patriots had a really good season for a good reason. And I know Drake May had a couple turnovers last week, but I think he kind of gets over the hump a little bit this time. All right. And then the one that if the Seahawks win, they will be facing Chicago, LA in Chicago. Corbin.
I think the Rams are the better team. I think the Rams are the better coached football team, but I cannot trust that defense right now. And I'm starting to buy the stock on Caleb Williams. I don't know what the dude does. Like, it's crazy. He can go out there and have two throws that are 50 feet away from where they're supposed to go, and then turn around and make a throwing on the run on a line 50 yards downfield on 4th and 8 and complete it. Like, it's nuts. Like, it is a roller coaster experience watching him play. and that Bears team play, the Rams defense has given up 28 points per game since week 12. I do not trust them at this point. I'm going with Chicago in that really cold weather that's supposed to be single digits. I'm going Bears.
All right, Rob, what do you think?
I want to agree with him. You know I do. I mean, not only because I think it would be a fascinating NFC championship matchup, and I just think that with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, that running game, I just think that everything that Corbin just said about the Rams defense, you could say the same thing about the Chicago Bears defense. Sure. I don't know. I have to go with the LA Rams. I just think that when it's all said and done, when I have two teams that I think are very closely matched, I go with the better quarterback. And I still think that is the MVP here in Matthew Stafford. I have this being an absolute barn burner. Lots of points scored. I have the Rams eking out a victory, 31-28 LA Rams.
All right, Turbo, what do you think?
Yeah, very close Rams victory. You know, I know the Rams are a warm weather team, but I have to admit they got some tough players. And Devontae Adams spent the majority of his career in the cold. You know, obviously Matthew Stafford was in Detroit, even though they had an indoor.
Yeah.
I am concerned about their corners. They suck. Okay, but
they're awful.
Yeah, but I am gonna pick the Rams to win this game. A really, really, really close game, I think, is gonna be though.
God, it's really weird. All of my logic is telling me the Rams are the better team. They have a better quarterback, better coach. I mean, at worst, the same defense. It probably is slightly worse. I guess you could say Chicago's a little bit better, but it's not much better. But I have a weird feeling that Chicago's like late game magic where they continue to make these comebacks. I don't know what it is. And the one area where I think Chicago does have the edge, it is in the running game. And I think that when it's that cold in that kind of environment, like that matters, right? So I have a weird feeling I think Chicago's winning this game. And people are finally going to start buying into the hype with them. And I don't necessarily think if the Seahawks win this game against the 49ers, everyone's thinking, just have it not be the Rams. I don't feel much different if it's the Rams versus if it's the Chicago Bears for me. I still, would like the Seahawks chances no matter who they face. But I'm not feeling any less confident or more confident based off of whoever that is. So I'm taking the Chicago Bears this one. I don't know why, but I just have a gut feeling on this one. So, gentlemen, great stuff today. Thank you. Turbo, you were going to say something. What's up?
Oh, no, I was just going to say when the playoffs started, there were only two teams in the NFC that I felt like could have the best chance against the Seahawks. That was the Eagles, and the other team was the Bears. And the only reason why I felt that way was because the Bears, because the Eagles are eliminated, so we get the Bears and Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a running quarterback. It's actually a challenge that the Seahawks really haven't faced all season. They've had mobile guys, like Brock Purdy's a mobile quarterback, but I wouldn't really classify him as a guy who can run like a Caleb Williams, which is why I think the Bears are the only NFC team that may have a good chance against the Hawks. Nobody else really concerns me. And why haven't we talked about the most important thing that's going on the whole show, which is Pete Carroll raising the 12 flag on Saturday? And he better bring some good vibes. Don't bring those I got fired vibes. Don't bring those. Don't bring the I got fired
Turbo,
vibes.
are you confirming that?
Oh, y'all didn't know that?
Been reported.
The two things that I've seen were like AI things on Facebook. So I was thinking you knew something that we didn't.
It's out there. It was already out there. You didn't put it out there, Turbo. You're fine.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I don't know if it was confirmed. Maybe, maybe you know something we don't. I don't know.
I don't know nothing. Never mind. I retract my statement.
Hey, you heard it here. We'll say, even though there's been AI things out there, you heard it from Turbo. If I actually floated it out there the other day. A lot of people were saying it's too soon. Like, no, it's not. Let the man return, and like he is fully supportive of Mike McDonald. Those two have worked together. Like, Pete knows that he's probably at the end of the line coaching, like, why not go celebrate where you had the most success and do it in front of the 49ers?
Yes.
Wave that flag. You know, I kind of hope that that's what is happening, but Turbo dropping that, I'm like, is it really happening? Is Pete Carroll really going to do this?
Nah, because now I'm nervous because now I'm like, because if it don't happen, yeah, I ain't legit. You feel me? I can't. So I retract everything I said.
Sorry, Turbo. It's stuck to you now, man. It's stuck to you.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You sound like me. Like, dude, the other day, I'm telling you, I talked to a couple people that have links to the television aspect. And like, if Aaron Rodgers wins on Monday night, the Seahawks are playing the early game. And those networks were dying for the Steelers to win that because of their fan base, being a worldwide fan base. And then the Texans go and just blow them out. It's like, well, okay, well, now we'll put the Seahawks in the nighttime slot. And so I had said that they were likely to play in the early slot. And like, that's because the television networks wanted the Steelers badly to win that game. So I didn't say they were playing. I said they're likely. Learn the English language. Okay, I've vetted.
All right. I love it. We've touched all the bases on today's Seahawks Squad show. Appreciate all y'all. Check out Locked On Seahawks tomorrow as we learn more updates about Sam Darnold's injury. Hopefully lack thereof by that point, but we'll find out, kind of what's really going on with that. Check out Corbin Smith with Emerald City Spectrum. He's got everything you need on there. Turbo and Rob. Rob, I know you're going to the game. I'm actually going to the game as well, but I have to leave early to get back in time to do the post-game show. So I'm trying to cover all my bases as well. So you guys enjoy it. Have a good one, 12s. We'll talk to you after the game. Turbo will be with me. Hopefully Chris as well. We'll find out a little bit later. But, of course, go Seahawks. Let's get to the NFC Championship game. First time since, 2015? I would love that. I would absolutely love that. So let's do that. Make sure you guys are loud from wherever you are and be a true 12. So appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Go Hawks.